Hey everybody, welcome now to day 3 to our content series for runners. Hopefully you were able to do the previous 2 days worth of self-assessment tests as well as exercises, and you have a good idea of what you could do to work on with your training to run better. Today we're going to be going over hip strength. We're going to test out our hip strength and see how well we're able to control our hip in a single limb support. As you know, when we're running, we're constantly bounding. We're in a single limb supported movement. So we want to make sure we have good control of our hips in order to decrease risk to our legs as well as our back. So if you're ready, let's go. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what is called a step down test. What you wanna do is find an elevated platform just like this, where there's some height to it. You could use the end of a stairway, that last step. You could also use a curb. But what we wanna do is we wanna step up onto that platform, and we're gonna basically do a little squat, touching the bottom of the floor, and come back up, just like you're stepping down to go downstairs. But what we're doing is we're tapping with our heel down to the floor, squatting with that opposite leg. So what we're looking for is, are you able to do a squat without significant sway in your body? Are you able to squat without dropping the hip? You keep your hips belt line level, parallel with the floor, not dropping down, okay? We're trying to avoid our knee coming in as we come down. You see how that knee deviates in as compared to this? I'm looking for watching out for the dropping of the hip. This will drop out, kicks out here, and then we're stepping down. Want to bend more at the hip here to squat. So watch out for those compensations. So we should be able to do that about 20 repetitions unbroken. If you're more elite runner, it should be 30. So go ahead and try that out. It is tough. Let me know how you do. So depending on how you did on that test, I'm gonna show you a variation of exercises that you could do to help build the strength. Easier ways to build the strength up in your hips is just starting out with a double leg bridge. So making sure that you keep your feet contact flat onto the floor, engaging your core so we're not overarching, and then pushing your feet into the floor as we raise up our hips. And then coming down. So we want to make sure also that you're feeling the contraction in your glutes here, as well as maybe the hamstrings here at the back of your thigh. What I don't want to be feeling is fatiguing in the quads or tightening of the lower back. You shouldn't feel that. If you are, try to adjust your position. Think about pushing with your heels into the floor while keeping that foot flat and then coming up. Doing a set of 10 to 15 is a good start, 3 sets. If that becomes easy, we can work on single leg. So to progress the double leg to single leg, we could go up with 2 legs, lift 1 leg up, and then come down with 1. Up with 2, down with 1. Okay, now if that's easy, what we can do is coming up and down. So if that's easy, we can go up and down with a single leg. So the previous exercises of the bridges, that's a good way to activate your buttock muscles right here, your glute max. I'm gonna show you a different way now to strengthen some of the side glute muscles so that way it can be strong, and that is really what helps you to control any deviation of your knee, dropping of the hips, and this is a good one to isolate as well. So typical clamshell exercise, I know a lot of people do this exercise, but a lot of times we are doing the exercises, but we're not isolating the muscles that we want to target. A lot of times when I see people doing the clamshell, we tend to rotate too much. And that's gonna get a lot of the hip flexors and get this tight. What we should be feeling is contraction of that top leg here. So really keeping our back straight. You could even have your back on the wall initially, but we wanna get used to not rotating our body out as we lift the leg. And really you're not gonna go that far with your leg. We're not gonna be going very high, really just above, slightly above parallel. So what we'll do is just come up and then down. You should get a good burn in this top hip here. Okay, you can do that on both sides. If that's easy, now we can progress it to using a band. So now using a band around my thighs, right above my knees, be the same thing, it's just resisted. Coming up, down, slightly above parallel, feeling good contraction of the top glute here, and down. Even if you don't have the equipment like the bands to make it a little bit more challenging, let me show you a different way to really get a good activation of these glute muscles without the equipment. So you can get even in a side plank on your knees. And while on the side plank with your knees, we could do the clamshells. You're gonna feel it on this top leg here, but really we're getting a good activation and stability from that bottom leg. So you even should feel some muscle fatigue on that bottom hip at the glute. You can even do leg raises, same thing, a little bit harder. Or you can go all the way side plank with leg lift. A lot more challenging. To strengthen our legs, our glute muscles, we can start off with a double leg squat, even before we do a single leg squat. A lot of times I see problems with squatting being that we have too much weight in our forefoot, so we tend to bring our knees forward, and that's gonna be activating a lot of the quad muscles. If we wanna get glutes more, we gotta get our hips back. So thinking about keeping your heel on the floor, distribute the weight between the front of your foot and the back of your foot, bring your hips back, and you can just practice sitting back into a chair. Back and up. Okay? So once that's easy, let's now make it a little bit harder by dropping down with one leg. What we can do is slow, controlled down with one leg, up with two legs. Slow and controlled with one leg, up with two. And work your way like that. Watching for any dropping of the hip, same thing. Once that's easy, we can do the single leg. Dropping back, coming up. And then once that's easy, we can start doing that in the air without the bench. So give that a shot. So another way to strengthen our legs, being in a single limb position, would be a Bulgarian squat. So to do that, you could use a chair or bench. We have your leg up onto the bench, your back leg. And you're gonna bring your front leg forward quite a bit, because when you bend, I don't want your knee going past your toes. So what you're gonna do is really drop this back knee down and come back up. So this front leg is doing a lot of the work. I'm pushing in, I'm pushing through my heel to come back up. You can see my knee isn't coming in. So once it's easy doing it without any weight, you can start loading up the weight with your dumbbells, barbell, things like that to load to make it a little bit harder. That concludes day 3's content. Try that step down test. Let me know how you do. We'll see you tomorrow for day 4.